didn't hit. I should buy a new mouse. I've been using this really, really old mouse. You can see how old it looks. Like
It keeps disappear. Oh yeah, that does look pretty old.
like the buttons don't really work anymore because my old computer, like it would like not even when the mouse said there is no driver, it'd be like, where is the driver? And I couldn't use a new mouse with my old computer. But now that I'm on a new computer, it would make sense to get a functioning mouse and not one that's literally probably like 15 years old.
I've gone full trackpad. You can tell because my trackpad is all greasy from all
Yeah,
the
I'm not
sex.
a trackpad guy, but I use the buttons on my trackpad because the buttons on my mouse don't work. So I have my left hand on the
Oh God,
trackpad pressing buttons and my right hand on the mouse. And this has
that's
been the
even worse than holding the microphone.
this has been the case the entire time that we've been
This
doing any of this podcasting.
this
This
reminds
has
me of
been
my
like 10
yeah.
years. This has
Oh
been
This is
God.
the
the
case for like 10
difference.
years.
Yeah, the difference between me and Matt is that I have everything set up like as comfortably as possible. I have all my lights automated. I have like half the screen. I'm using my 55-inch TV. Half the screen is you guys with the camera pointed from the screen to my face. The other half is a combination. The browser is snapped to the right side so I can look up browser tabs. The notepad is there with my notes on it. It's like I must be convenient. I must have convenience, like piles and piles and scores of convenience.
Give me convenience or give me death.
Yep.
You
Yep.
reminded me of my remote control situation for my stereo, where half the keys died on the remote, and so I bought another remote online, but it's not quite the same model, so half the keys on that don't work on my stereo, so I have to go back and forth between these two remotes.
I
I
use
know.
my phone. I actually have a Logitech hub where I use my phone as remote
Yeah,
control. I use my
this
phone
is
for everything, and it doesn't always work, but
yeah. I
sometimes
have
it
an I
does.
have an ancient Pioneer stereo that actually has an app that would kind of sort of control it and does a lot of the things, then the but then it has to be online, and I had it plugged in for a long time, but occasionally it just drops off the network for no reason. So it's like I just need a new stereo, basically.
Yeah,
We've
the
gone.
Logitech hub isn't great, and they basically don't support it anymore. But like I basically
Oh
have
my,
a
yeah, my original TV was plasma screen, still in the garage because it has some burn in,
like the
and yeah, it has all sorts of
all
goofy
this
little
stuff on
apps
it.
on it that are all powered by Yahoo.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's kind of useless because I don't think Yahoo is a thing anymore.
I still have a
I'm
Yahoo email. That's where my Amazon receipts go.
I mean, I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
think I still
sure that
have it.
that's just Java something in Java, but like that's how this Logitech thing works.
Let's see what else. What our tech things to have. I'm scared. I think I've gone over the fact that I'm scared of my alarm clock.
You're scared
Yeah.
because the tone is abrupt.
It's too loud.
Yeah, I actually have to have my phone. I use my phone alarm, and it has to be on the like most gentle music, and it has to be really low, or
I
else I
don't.
wake up screaming. Like seriously, when I had like the buzzing alarm, I would just wake up and start screaming at it, or I'd just be like, "What the fuck?" Even
Oh,
yeah,
I thought you
sometimes
were
I even
screaming
do
like
that. Yeah.
I thought you were screaming in fear as you woke up.
I mean,
Uh,
I don't know, maybe.
on the rare cases I do set my alarm, I'll usually wake up 5 to 10 minutes before it and then put it under my covers. So then it like, but I can't put it too far under my covers or I won't hear it. So
Jesus.
yeah.
No, unfortunately, I wake up when I wake up, I'm awake generally.
Okay.
You should just get the kind of alarm that shines bright lights on you to wake you up. It's totally silent.
Okay.
Just hook up
Well,
your Alexa to your lights, make it like the red lights are
That could
flashing and be
work.
like red alert,
last dumb
danger,
tech question. How
danger.
many random USB sticks do you have lying around, like within reach?
Six or so.
Three.
Three. One, two, three, four.
I
I'm
mean,
at four, I guess. Okay, I was just
I
curious.
mean,
So
there's one right in front of me, which is my game controller thing, but like on the counter under my TV, there's like five or six more.
right.
So a lot.
Think I'm gonna
Okay.
install the latest Ubuntu or something on this, the new one, since try it out. Give me
Dude,
something to boot from.
See, I still
Ubuntu
need to move
rules.
the
I need to
music from my
switch to
old
that.
computer or my new computer so I can update my iPad again. One of the
I
reasons I haven't put out music in the past couple months is because I'm too lazy to get the two computers like kind of working together.
I
Stuff.
erased my iPad with the intention of selling it, and I've not sold it yet. So I'm like a dumb bastard because the
Mm,
thing is losing value
yeah,
by the day,
by the minute. Yes,
by the
it's
minute.
Apple.
I got some old
Moody
mid
Blues.
mid career Moody Blues.
Oh, 80s. Okay. That's yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten any of the later stuff after the 70s. I'm still missing one. That's like one last album. I'll have a complete set of Moody Blues. But, yeah, Mike Pinder died the other week, and it's like sad.
You've seen a ride through the ride,
I have some
yes?
WD-40.
The Moody Blues ride.
I'm
Cool.
just like showing you things.
Have you seen a ride through of the Moody Blues ride?
No,
Yes.
no, I heard of the Moody Blues ride, but I haven't
Oh
seen
my
the
God,
ride
it was
through.
so great. It was a Knights and White Satin the ride. It was at the Hard Rock Park, which was only open for like 6 months. But it's just like the most
Oh,
insane, entertaining ride. And recently, someone put up like an actual good looking ride through of it. Um, yeah, it's got some Twilight Zone stuff, and I'll have to send that along. Um,
I'm mostly excited about Top Thrill Dragster 2, which I can't ride
oh,
soon.
oh, that's the really fast one that will
The
kill
really
you.
fast one where they just built an extra it almost killed someone so that they took it down and just built an entire other tower. So now they've made it like more insane.
Rob makes videos. Okay, I'll have to look through these later and see which one is actually like the nice watchable one. Because there's like
Cool.
several, and I know some of them definitely look better than others. Hmm. Oh, they went and played live. Yeah, it's the most psychedelic I think dark ride ever. And I dark rides are inherently more psychedelic than other rides, so that would make it the most psychedelic ride ever.
Yeah, I love dark rides specifically because they are like by definition mind altering.
Right.
Like you are
See,
it's
in
like a cult.
Atlanta, we get the Six Flags, but we do get the Monster Mansion, so that's nice.
And the Monster Mansion is a beloved and legendary dark ride.
Yes.
Look, I got this thing next to me. It's gigantic. Um, I don't know. I'd say this is like 15 pounds. This
That doesn't look convenient, by the way.
but it like you have to have the weight so you feel like you're at the arcade. Like you have
Hmm.
to feel like a big chunk of
But
machinery.
you don't put the arcade console in your lap. I don't know. I guess you put it on a table, do you?
I mean, I would.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just
Shane just got
this.
a new controller for Xbox, and it's got some heft to it. It's like some mass. It's not just flimsy plastic, so it gives you something to like react
Oh,
to.
everyone sounds kind of quiet because my
Yeah,
volume's not
it's
up.
funny because the well, I have a lot of thoughts about how Steve Jobs kind of like ruined tech for a while, where it's like he hated buttons and he wanted everything to be really thin and frictionless. And now like everyone is kind of coming around to like actually everything should be huge and heavy and chunky because we're humans who like pushing the big heavy buttons.
That's right.
Everybody's like mad because their car has a shitty touchscreen with no buttons. Like, yeah,
I
get
still
right.
have switches and knobs.
And my new car is older than my last car. So
Cars need tactile feedback because you can't distract yourself by staring at a touchscreen trying to figure out exactly where you want to, which station on Sirius you want to listen to.
Well,
You
also
know?
Japan's weird because our car is 12 years old, but it still looks kind of new. And we only had to take it in for repair for the first time like last month, and they
Oh,
fixed it,
good.
and now it's fixed.
I'm an American,
Now
so
it's
everything I have is garbage and
Yeah.
broken.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. Um, I guess we'll go ahead and start these rules.
Okay, let's learn the fucking rules of
the
whatever.
rules of acquisition. No, that's a
Yeah,
different
the
show.
rules of God, I wish.
Did we ever get any rules? I guess we'll get into that. All right.
No, no,
Don't eat the food.
no. Don't eat the people. All right. Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about Space 1999 and the rules of Space 1999.
Yes, science fiction always has rules that are followed effectively.
Yes.
That's what Matt, the guy talking, says is a tenet of science fiction. Did
And
you say
Mark
Unless you're
that?
Captain
agrees.
Kirk and then you don't follow the rules.
Right.
He makes his own rules.
Makes his own rules.
The
That
rules of
that's Brian. I'm
Luton.
Mark, and these are the rules of Luton.
So, Mark, you seem to be betraying your opinion from the get-go on this one. At least you were right before we hit the record, but whatever. There's his review. That's your review. Okay. I'm more positive on it. I thought it was kind of like season two definitely seems to have a bit more of like, let's do old Star Trek episodes. I guess this is their, arena plussed up with more people and monsters.
Arena, you say?
I
Tell me
got
more
a re
about this arena episode
Yeah,
you
what is
speak
this
of.
arena I'm talking of? But this is like basically just arena, right? With except it's in a forest and the desert and there's more people. That's how I took it at least.
And the aliens are pitted against each other for dumber reasons.
Because they
I don't
broke
even
the
know.
rules of Luton. That's why.
Luton versus the Metrons. Who had the dumber reason to pit two aliens against each other?
Hmm.
It's
We
just the guys walking around kind of looking angry in bad costumes just reminds me of everything I didn't like about watching TV as a kid.
Okay, see, I didn't when I watching things in juxtaposition. Like I tend to do that more and more where I'll watch something for a podcast and then I'll watch something else random and they just seem to kind of meld together. So I was just
Hmm.
watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze, where they have crappy monsters like these and it's great.
You want to know what though? I didn't like that movie when it came out, and I
Nobody
still
liked that
probably
movie when
think
it
it's
came out.
bad. It's probably still bad,
No,
even though
now it's pretty entertaining actually.
I've watched it as recently as 10 years ago, and it's not without its charms. But
Okay, yeah, it's got charms. I'm not telling you like it's a masterpiece, but it's got dumb monsters. Because everyone was annoyed when it came out. It's like they got different actors, some of the voices are different, blah blah blah. But that doesn't matter now. Who cares now?
the thing about the first movie was it came close to being like the comic book. It was like it wasn't there. It wasn't the comic book. It wasn't really that close. But growing up as children, we had these kind of Batman the animated series, X-Men series where they're just scratching at it. They're like getting there. They're close, but
Yeah,
not
Teenage Mutant is the first one where they kind of like were like, let's just try doing the comic book. Because Batman was like, let's change everything, you know?
kind of. Yeah, the Tim Burton obviously didn't care. He was just
Oh.
going to make the Tim Burton movie, which is fine because I happen to like Tim Burton a lot, probably more than Batman, honestly, as a property.
How about the
But
Rules of Luton? Do you like Tim Burton
no,
better in Luton?
yes, I do not like the Rules of Luton. I think it's just bad.
You want to tell some trivia on the Rules of Luton?
Okay. Learn about the rules. Seventh in production order for season two. This episode was filmed at the same time as next week's The Mark of Archanon, although that one originally aired directly before this episode. This one was filmed on location while the other one was filmed on the studio sets, which is why you don't get a whole lot of set in this. Fred Freiberger got the title of this episode from a town near London that he thought sounded quote unquote exotic. The town was at the time an unglamorous industrial town, so Jerry Anderson and the other British crew were amused by the usage and by his mispronunciation. The actual town is pronounced Luton, though Luton.
That's the town. This is the planet.
Fancy a
Planet's
Luton.
Luton.
Is not
Luton, I
Lutonshire?
hardly know him. Speaking of
Lutonshire? Lutonshire.
Luton, just just Luton. Probably a great place to have a pint with some factory workers. Speaking of Freiberger, he himself gets the primary writing credit this week. That's right, we're finally there. Although this and the other two episodes of Space 1999 he wrote were under the pseudonym Charles Woodgrove for some reason. Speculated that some kind of union rules or something. The Mark of Archanon is notably not one of the episodes he wrote. So next week, somebody else. He has several other writing credits under his real name, such as episodes of Korg 70,000 BC, Vega $sign. I guess you can pronounce it Vegas if you want. And C Lab 2020. We have another new director this week in Val Guest. He was born 1911 and began his career as an actor on the British stage in early sound films. He then transitioned to screenwriting and by the 1940s, directing, although he didn't end up with as many directing credits as writing credits. You can see his writing in Confessions of a Window Cleaner, Stop Me Before I Kill, and Hell is a City. But he's better known as one of the directors of Casino Royale. You know which one. But he also directed the three movies I mentioned earlier, along with several more. He passed away in 2006 at the age of 94, although he retired by the early 80s. But before that, he'll be back for 2 more Space 1999 episodes. As for our guests this week, the green guy credited as Alien Strong. Not Strong Alien. He's
It's like
Alien
Mark
Strong.
Strong, like Mark Strong.
Yep. Except for his
You could
first
change
name
your
is
name to that.
Alien.
Yeah,
Funny. Funny how everybody's first name is Alien this week. It's played by David
they're
Jackson.
French Canadian.
Yes, of course. Or I don't know. Isn't Japanese, isn't your family name first in Japan?
Oh yes, that's true.
I also found one source that credits him with providing the voice of the judges of Luton, which pretty much makes sense. He sounded like him, but
Who is
that
he?
role is the voice of the guy that keeps yelling
Right.
at Koenig,
I thought that was
the
the same
judge of
voice.
Luton.
He's
Yeah,
the first, the alien, the green face guy, right? It's the
that
same
was the
voice.
only. He was the only. There was one source I found that said that he was the voice, and I found nothing else about it. Uncredited in the episode and on IMDb for that role. He was born in
Hmm.
1934 in Liverpool and had a number of acting credits in works such as The Liverbirds, My Perfect Husband, and Help, the TV series, not the Beatles movie. He will be back for our 2-parter episode later this season, also as an uncredited voiceover. He passed away in 2005 at the age of 71. Credited as Alien Transporter, aka the guy who looked kind of like the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz and could teleport, is Godfrey James. He was born in 1931 in London and was also a seasoned actor, appearing in Spellbreaker, Secret of the Leprechauns, Leprin Leprechauns, and Mussolini, The Untold Story. He continued acting into the early 2000s and passed away in 2019 at the age of 88. Finally, as you guessed it, Alien Invisible. That's the
Ooh.
guy who looks like Bigfoot who can turn invisible. We have Roy Marsden, born in 1941. He's played a variety of different character types over his career in mostly British productions, but also appeared in made-for-TV sequel to sister podcast topic Dungeons and Dragons, subtitled Wrath of the Dragon God. Not to mention Cover Her Face, She Stoops to Conquer, and Goodbye, Mr. Chips. He's still with us today, although he seems to have retired around 2015. That's trivia, and
That is your trivia. Okay.
that is my trivia. You ready for the summary?
Yeah, yeah. I was actually screwing around with the drum machine, but it's not
No,
a good
you go
idea. So
ahead. This isn't that important.
I'll just bellow them. These are the
Wait,
rules of Luton. Rule 1, land on a lush planet. Rule 2, send away your only form of transport. Rule 3, eat some berries. Rule 4, get thrown into a death match with a trio of monsters. Rule 5, hide across a lake from the monsters so you can try to talk with them. Rule 6, turn into a bird. Rule 7, get stabbed by a bludgeoning weapon. Rule 8, take on the bludgeoning weapon as your own. Number 9, make a bolo with help from your metamorph friend. Rule 10, fill in some backstory. Rule 11, catch a bird who is Maya on a ticking clock. Rule 12, chat with a monster. Rule 13, bludgeon fight. Rule 14, argue with the rules of Luton. Rule 15, watch the rules of Luton again. Okay, I'm finished.
okay.
Those were the rules.
Well, I
I
had a
had one
regular
for the.
summary, but go ahead.
You're gonna
That's
watch it
much better
again.
than what I had.
Oh, okay, you're gonna watch it again. That's rule
Yep.
Okay,
15.
well,
Yeah.
go ahead if you want. You
No,
can
it
try to explain it better than that, but I
doesn't
don't
matter
know.
if
Nah.
you want to. Oh, did you write a summary?
I
Okay.
yeah, I thought it was my turn.
Oh well. Well, I wrote rules, so I guess it's different.
You've covered all the important points. The only thing that I would have added that you didn't add was the part where they said they weren't going to harm anybody, but then they murdered 2 of them, and then severely incapacitated the other one and left him to die.
Right. Okay. Well, you need some extra sauce, like in Predator. I'm just reading my
I like
notes
the
down.
I like the judges of Luton, and when I saw them, the first thing I thought was number one, the larch, the larch. No Monty Python fans in the room. Okay.
Now I got it. Okay.
I I
I was
haven't
like,
watched enough to know
you
the
can see my
references,
wheels.
man. I'm sorry.
Isn't that later season of Monty Python when like John Cleese isn't
It's
there
like how to
anymore?
recognize trees or something like that. Number one, the
I've
large.
yeah, I mean I've seen Holy Grail like 4 times, but I haven't watched the series multiple times, and I
I have the
go
series, but it's at the
chaotically
other house. Wow, that sounds like
chaotic watching.
yeah, okay.
I just want to know where the Lutons keep their cameras that they point at the grove of trees that are apparently them,
And
so
they're
they
in
can
the
transmit them
plans.
to their
They
comm locks.
they all just are staring all the time at everything.
You guys notice that when in the comm lock you look at it, he shakes it a little bit, and there's like a perspective change, and you realize this is a film slide inside of this comm lock. This is not a special effect. This is a film slide with a light behind it.
Their plans. This is the best they can do.
um,
Well, it's 1976. I know it's kind of hard to do CGI
Yeah,
in
of course.
1976, but the comm locks up until now have been little black and white, actual little tiny picture screens that were very novel at the time, little cathode ray tubes inside those comm locks, but they couldn't do color, so
Dude,
not
they
in
had to resort to
1999.
something.
for sure,
No,
I would
not 1974 either.
as a
That
child,
was
I would have
amazing though.
killed someone for a tiny TV that I could carry around with
Oh,
me.
yeah. Well, I have one for you if you like. It's called a Sony Watchman, and it's completely useless now
Nice.
that we're digital. Nothing transmits on analog TV anymore, so you can't watch anything on
You
it.
can watch Ants in
Yeah,
Battle.
you gotta make a
Unless you set up your
transmitter.
make your own little transmitter, you can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, the other Star Trek I was thinking of course, well, not maybe not of course, but the other Star Trek I was thinking of is the later one where Wesley Crusher steps on the flowers and then they decide to
Yes,
execute him.
absolutely. Oh, I forgot to put in my trivia that this multiple people have compared this to a Lost in Space episode called The Great Vegetable Rebellion, which Fred Freiberger claims to have never seen it. But
It's
if you
somewhere
look up,
between that and Arena.
yeah, if you look up the IMDb page for Great Vegetable Rebellion, there's just like the first picture for it is just a guy in a big carrot suit walking with Dr. Smith. And
That
it
is
is
a much
Not just any
better
guy.
that is a much better title. We're gonna give Lost in Space that for sure.
Lost in Space is just embraced dumb stuff and it was fine. I don't
But
know.
that guy in the carrots, not just any guy. That was Stanley Adams. That was Cyrano Jones from
Hmm,
Several Tools in the carrot suit.
interesting.
I was a carrot for Halloween once. Maybe we didn't have money that year.
And he had the immortal line, "Moisture, I need moisture." I remember
We
far too
we
much
got
about
that a
Space
few weeks
Okay.
ago.
1999.
Yeah, we got that a few weeks ago, didn't we? So they couldn't do that
Oh,
again.
man. Well,
The rocks, they needed some moisture. I guess they didn't say
yeah.
it though.
I I absolutely thought about the Wesley Crusher episode and how that was kind of a not very well liked episode and is also much better than this episode.
I
Hmm.
don't know.
I mean, I think it's not well liked just because it's in season one and features Wesley Crusher, right?
There are some season
Wesley
ones I
Custer
like
doing a
though.
dumb thing that wasn't his fault, but it was still just a dumb thing.
Yeah.
First one
Um,
with the Traveler, that's a good episode, and then that's a Wesley Crusher episode.
I'm not trying to throw Wesley Crusher into the bus. I mean, I just think the maybe the fans and the writers did,
Well, that planet
yeah.
also was where they wanted to kill him for stepping on the flowers.
but also now he like goes after Larry David for attacking Muppets. So I don't know, man. Will Wheaton, we love you. Just to maybe take it down a notch sometimes.
See,
Okay.
Mark, I had like a real time correction for you in the chat. I
Mhm.
think you had said that Fred Freiberger was credited for this episode, but he has his Charles
Yeah,
Woodgrove credit on
yeah.
the
Charles
screen.
Woodgrove is his
Is
pseudonym for this.
Oh,
I
okay. I
think I
thought
said
you'd
that
said
right.
he. Okay, I got the impression you said that he was credited as Fred Freiberger.
On other shows, right?
No, he is credited
No,
as Fred
okay.
Freiberger on other shows besides this, but
Yeah,
on
all right.
Space 1999 exclusively,
Well, then
Charles
ignore what I
Woodgrove.
said.
Well,
Yeah, that's his local pseudonym. Okay.
I know
yeah.
logic questions are probably not worth asking for this, but one that came to me very quickly was how long have the three alien adversaries been waiting for this match?
Mm-hmm.
Did they
Well, they
have to
were in
fight
some
each
sort
other?
of
They're
suspended
friends.
animation or something,
Maybe
maybe.
like that
I don't
Minority
know.
Report thing, yeah.
They just
I guess there's
kept them
time
on ice until they
dilation.
had some more aliens. Why didn't they fight each other? Is my question. They had three
That is
aliens.
a
They could have
really
just
good question.
they
That's
didn't
a
need
really
the
good
alphas.
question.
They might have been on the same ship, so it's like this ship's team versus this ship's team. That's what plants like to do. That's the secret life of plants.
I mean, clearly
Well,
there's a lot of thought put into this episode since they were called Alien Strong and Alien Teleporter.
Well, that's pretty descriptive, right?
Hi, I'm human slacker.
Okay, there, that works.
Okay, I guess it does work actually. So never
Yeah,
mind.
well, the
yeah,
guy at
yeah.
the end I
Some
just call the Gorn because he's the one who actually fights Koenig.
Yeah.
And he's
I called
green
him
faced like the Gorn, so there you go.
yeah, I called him Biker Frankenstein in my notes.
I mean, I did, have the first idea, like, because they just showed up. I was like, could these be like planet created Golem? Which I guess by the end of the episode, that's not the case. But
No, he thinks and stuff.
No, that would have actually made more sense
mm,
because they was been purely motivated by their, programming by their creators. Yeah.
He thinks
They didn't,
enough. He thinks, but not enough.
yeah, they don't seem to have much. They kind of resign themselves to the fate. Like, yeah, we got to kill these guys. They don't, to Koenig's credit, he's trying to do the peaceful solution throughout the whole thing. Like, hey, we really don't want to fight you. This is dumb. And they just don't even listen to him or appear to be able to communicate with him until the very end when suddenly the they say it amuses them to allow us to communicate now. It's like, okay.
Uh-huh. Can
plants can't move much. They have to find ways to amuse themselves.
It's really frustrating to me how easily Maya Hawk got caught. I was just calling her Maya Hawk because it amuses me, but
It's like
Maya
Call
Lady
her
Hawk.
Lady
Hawk,
Hawk. Lady Hawk. That's a movie, right?
Lady Hawk.
Yeah.
Well, Maya Hawk is also an actress, but anyway.
So I think I got
Um,
more transformations per episode than any other so far, right?
I think so.
And like almost none of them effective. That's the thing. Whenever Maya turns
Well,
into something, it never has a positive outcome.
Yeah, the
I
kudzu
mean,
almost got
she
her.
killed. Yeah,
Hey,
she killed the one
Mark and
guy.
I are from Atlanta. We know the kudzu. Don't screw with the kudzu. It'll get you.
Space kudzu. It's called space kudzu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty much how it moves in real time, I think, in Georgia, if I'm correct. It's been a few years, but
You
it'd
can
be cool
actually
if she
watch it
just
grow.
turned into kudzu and slowly grew on somebody.
yeah.
Um,
That's the thing, you don't see it that much in Japan because it doesn't, it's something about the southeastern climate that just makes it go insane, which it doesn't do here.
yeah. Well, yeah, you know the backstory how it was brought here with the promise of it'll shore up your land so irrigation's easier or something like that, or
No,
stop
no, just
erosion.
no. Don't do things like that. It never
It's
works
too
out the
Yeah,
way
late.
you want.
It's
we
way
were
too
much
late.
dumb. Well, squirrels also have a similar origin story. Squirrels were not native to the U.S. They were brought here to amuse people in public parks, and they just went
They're
like
still pretty amusing.
haywire. No, I love them, but I don't have crops.
Right. Okay, good point. No, I remember because when we had Japanese visitors in Atlanta and they looked out the back window and saw the squirrels, like, woo, and like blew their minds. And we're like,
Yeah.
that's every day.
I'm still wondering what's the status of fire ants and killer bees because I never hear much about them anymore.
Death hornets, you mean? I
No,
think
killer
death
bees, the ones
hornets.
that were coming up from
Wu-Tang Killer
Africanized bees
Bees.
that were bred in South America. They
Oh,
escaped and they've been slowly moving northward for the last 30 years, and they supposedly
hmm.
hit the U.S. border like well, not even 30 years, like 60 years. They hit the U.S. border like 20 years ago, and I don't hear much about the killer bees.
Hmm.
Now the fire ants
Uh,
are another thing altogether. That came from
hmm.
I don't know where they came from originally.
I
Well, the
know
Wikipedia
Georgia has some
article
gnarly
has
fire ants. Yeah.
this
'Cause I
and
was a
that
Boy
and the
Scout and we'd
other.
have to avoid the fire ant sometimes.
Well,
Hey, here's an invasive species, animals. Stupid animals. Let's kill them all.
yeah,
I mean, I guess
basically now I mean, there was something like a guy arrested at the Atlanta airport for trying to smuggle two rare snails in or something recently. Like they take that stuff seriously now, thankfully.
Yeah, good.
I mean, if you went out on the street though and you saw some alien chowing down on a person, I mean, you'd be kind of like concerned. And if you had weird omnipotent powers, you might, invoke a battle to the death style a battle royale, right?
I am of the mind that if aliens actually do show up, they will be very terrifying and people won't be able to look at them.
Hmm.
I think
The
that was
thing
the most
about
elaborate effect, though, in the whole episode was just they took a bunch of bones and laid them down the bottom of a gully, and they called that the last stand of the
Jesus
animals.
Christ. That is my if I need a nitpick corner for every episode. That was the part where I started typing in all caps for of like, are you kidding me? You see animals all made a last stand and then died and their skulls just stayed in a formation after they died. Like
Yes.
that is so stupid.
Yeah, I wrote that Koenig was assuming quite a lot about
They
the animals
clearly
on
had
the
one.
stand.
They had one like Tyrannosaurus skeleton that they used like 3 times. I
Yeah.
keep walking past it over and over.
The, those bones were like used later in Star Wars, I think, but they're just like props that were sitting around in England. But yeah,
Is that like the
yeah,
sandworm bones from Tatooine? That was much
yeah,
bigger.
something like that. I don't know. I skimmed that part. But yeah, the insane. It's like the green is the death color of this week. Is like, yes, it's clearly it's all these skulls in a line. In a line of just animals making their last
Well,
stand.
first I thought it was just my observing things off camera to save on a budget, but then later I saw down at the bottom of the canyon there were all these bones, and I thought, wow, so they actually got some bones out and scattered them around. I was amazed
They got
they
a
went
bone
that far.
collector.
Mm. And I
Yeah.
was this, I'm sure there must have been at least 5 Doctor Who episodes that were filmed in this same area at some point, right? Actually, the whole landscape looked more Californian than any other landscape that I've seen in this show. The woods looked a little less, I don't know, northernly, or something about the hills and stuff. It just had this look like, oh, this could be the United States. It's kind of
Yeah,
less Englandy. I don't know
I
where they
didn't
shot
think
it.
about it. I'm pretty sure it was just
Yeah, I don't
near the
think they had the
studio.
budget to go more than
Well,
10
I'm sure it
miles
was
from
Yeah.
the
somewhere
studio.
nearby, but when in like Journey to Where you could tell it was all kind of this wet, rainy forest, and you go, yeah, that's Scotland or something close to it. I'll believe that.
Um,
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures and it really does kind of look like US, but
so does this
anyway.
coding mentions the War of 1987, and I'm wondering, isn't that when
Yes.
Buck Rogers leaves Earth? And then I'm just trying to
Yeah,
tie
maybe.
Space 1999 into the world of Buck Rogers in the 25th century. That's all. I feel like you could put them in
I
the same universe.
Well, let's
I
see. It
like
was
how
two
they
years. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I like how they sort of give Koenig a backstory, but not much. It's like he doesn't have any. Oh, he doesn't have parents, and he doesn't have brothers or sisters, but he had a wife, and she's just like Helena. So it's like they gave him one person who he missed, and
I
it's just
assume I
like
just
somebody we already know.
I just assumed that was Cinnamon Carter. He was married to Cinnamon Carter before.
Yeah, makes sense.
Back when his name was Roland Hand. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like,
I
man,
thought that
you're
that centerpiece. I mean, it kind of felt at the same time felt like filler because they can only run around so much. They had to have some sort of you know personal stuff going on too. But I felt that was probably like the redeeming part of the episode because we actually learned a few things. We learned about Koenig's life and we learned about Maya's brother, and I believe he plays a character. I mentioned it in the notes that the later novels that came out like 20
Oh,
years
novels.
ago.
Okay, because I
In the
wrote are they
novels,
I
seeding
yeah.
an
would.
episode here when brother shows
Yeah,
back
Yeah,
I
up?
no, you
felt like
don't
they were
see
seeding it.
him, and
Oh.
I don't have anything more about him other than say he was, I think he was in the books. I think he was in some of the books.
Because I mean, they did actually go to. I thought they took a few minutes to actually make some proper backstory, and so yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
and
that
so it
was
was nice to
worthwhile.
have that. It's just one of the few little bits of backstory to grab onto in the show. They're not usually
Yeah,
blowing up eagles.
See,
So
I was having trouble working out. I will tell you, Arena, because considered one of the best TOS episodes, is like very far from my favorite. I don't like the Gorn that much. I wish they'd stop showing up in Strange New Worlds.
well, yeah, me too, but that's a
Arena's
different
not
Gorn.
my favorite. Yeah, I know it's a different Gorn.
I've
Whatever,
I've I've made it clear that I have a pet peeve about sci-fi hard sci-fi shows trying to just do aliens like the movie Aliens, not
but
the concept aliens, but it annoys me every time it happens. Like it happened in Voyager maybe twice with like the macrovirus.
fast
I don't
Orville
fast
did it at
moving
least once.
creatures that are hunting you
they're
and you have to,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Hmm.
not it doesn't work on a low budget with this with that format. And I mean,
Although wouldn't
it's
this
not
or
it's not the
Arena
worst thing.
being both episodes. By the way, yeah, the Rules of Luton, I was like, I'm not really into this, but I was like, maybe it's because it's that arena vibe that I'm not into. But I'd say it's more of a Predator thing, yeah. I mean, this is kind of like Predator
Hmm.
stuff going on,
Speaking of,
invisibility.
one of my least favorite episodes of Voyager is the Predator episode with Chakotay in it, which I think was called Prey. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe.
You
Even
might
though
right
it
on
had a
that.
good ending, but the most of the episode I was like, this is boring. Like
Mm.
you just can't. The cool whatever fight to the death episode was the one where 7 of 9 had to be coached by the what the hell was that race called, the fighting guy
The
who was
Herogen,
like, yeah, the
Herogen.
Hirogen, who was like the guy who was the Klingon in Deep Space Nine. Now just too far a rabbit hole.
Mm.
I liked that one.
You don't
Anyway,
like alien monster battles.
I don't like fighting as like a framework for a hard sci-fi show because it usually just doesn't, it's not as good as it could be. Like fighting should be choreographed
What
and
if we pit the three aliens in here against the Gorn and just left out the Alphans? Would that do it for you?
sure. But see, there have been good fight scenes in this show. It's just not this one. You know what
I
I
want
mean?
three
Like not this
different Gorns
episode.
though. I want a TOS Gorn and then an Enterprise Gorn and then a Strange New Worlds Gorn.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Here, here's what
Mix them
was
up a little.
here's what was good. The the episode with Balor in it. What was that one called? Where it
End of
just shows
Eternity.
him End of
Hmm.
Eternity, where there are scenes where he just is walking down a corridor and just like murdering like three guys, throwing them around while it plays classical music. That was great. Like more of that, which I'm clearly we're not going to get any of that in
This
this
had kind of
season.
some gentle disco fight music. That was kind of fun.
I like the music, but the framework was just
It wasn't
I,
quite a fit,
it
though. I
wasn't.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
I guess
I
that's because
think
they're reusing people.
we still have some episodes coming with aliens walking down corridors killing people. I think I think
okay.
there might be one
All
coming.
All
So
right,
you'll be happy when that comes along, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
all right, maybe
Mark's a fan of the
this.
megalomaniacal maniac with ultimate powers that just tells you you're going to die and then kills
I
you.
I like charisma, and I want my villains to have charisma. None of these guys have charisma. Like the biker Frankenstein almost does for like 30 seconds at the end, but not really. He's mostly just going, "Argh!" And he somehow manages to catch a bird, which is seems like it would be very
Did
hard.
he even actually grab that bird? I was trying to watch that, but it seemed like I just saw a splash of water and it implied that he grabbed the bird. It's like it couldn't film him
They
actually grabbing it.
did, yeah, they didn't film that. They did film a couple of scenes where the actual bird, looked very upset to be in that cage. So that was not very fun to watch.
I
I
think
don't
I
know.
got it. I mentioned as a Boy Scout, so I went camping a lot. In an episode like this, or a week or three ago, I mentioned shuttlecraft crashes being not my favorite episodes as well. Feels like camping, and camping I it's kind of boring.
I've never been camping.
I feel like it's kind of
I think
boring.
camping is kind of intended to be just chill and don't do anything for the most part. But
I'm terrible at that. In fact, when I go on vacation, I usually wake up at 8 a.m. and go out and just do as many things as possible and walk like 15 miles a day. Like
So yeah,
well, no,
I'm not a
when I've
chill
gone
person.
camping, I just bring a book and I read the book.
like this
I
episode or arena or like ballers at like using their location. Arena is some of the most famous location shooting ever, but then I feel like I'm stuck in that location. I don't like it.
That's
Hmm.
understandable. I don't. This
Star
sounds
Wars movies will take you to at least three
blasphemous.
different places, right?
I don't feel like I know how much I like or dislike Arena. It feels really middle of the road to me. I don't have strong feelings about it,
Hmm.
except I love obviously the Gorn fight music is really awesome,
Oh
but that's
God, yeah, but
also
you can get that
that's
in
also
other
in a bunch of
episodes.
other episodes. Yeah.
Gamers
So
of Triskelion, that's the best use of that music for me.
I
That
feel like
that wasn't
that's
the music for Arena anyway,
Oh, was it
because that
different
was
than that?
season.
Okay.
was
No,
it?
the
I thought
Muck
it was.
Time fight music is what you're thinking of from the
Oh,
Muck
you're
Time.
right. You're right. Okay.
That was used in Games of
Okay.
Triskelion and elsewhere.
Okay. Well, that
But
shows you
Arena had a
how.
different score, I think.
Okay, that shows you how many times I watched Arena, which is maybe once.
See, I've done a bunch of live shows where I put that music in as much as humanly possible for anytime anybody had to fight.
Oh, I use
It's
that in my
like
classes sometimes when I
it's a
need the
cue
class
everyone
activity to get
recognizes. Yeah.
intense. Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. These kids don't know the cue, but they understand that it's like stress music, right?
Mm-hmm. Big fight music.
Things are now
Yeah.
stressful. You are
I
fighting.
it's a very 20th century piece of music because it has those weird like, whole tone thing jumps and things like that
Then I got
and
five
weird
four piece
chords.
or something. It was a different
Yeah, it's
rhythm.
like one dun 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 dun
Well, it's
dun
the
dun,
kind of
dun.
thing you
I
would have
don't
put in an Errol Flynn movie, and the scores for those. And I apologize, I'm not dragging the main
it's
guys that did this name right up, but there were several, from Europe in the 30s, several actual composers that were Jewish came to the States, so they, wouldn't get, you know, holocausted. And some of
well,
them
and
writing for Hollywood.
some of them were influenced by Schoenberg, who was literally composing weird stuff, which was just missile plans that he was sending
Yes,
to Germany.
yes. So,
So that
well,
man,
the whole
20th
tones
century,
don't do that.
wild.
The whole tones don't do that.
No, that's 12 tone scale. That's different, but it is like avant garde enough that it that it is. I don't know. It's like that guy playing guitar. His name I forgot. Billy
Derek Bailey.
Derek Bailey. Wouldn't be surprised if he's sending missile plans somewhere. I guess he's dead now. Anyway, um,
Oh, I did
so
hear a
I'm
little bit
trying.
of speaking of music, heard a little bit of the score from One Moment of Humanity in there somewhere. I don't know if it was a Gino Vanelli bit or not, but I heard a little bit
I
of
don't.
it in this episode.
I don't think it was, but
Oh, sorry. The composer that I'm thinking of, by the way, I looked up the name here, which is why I wasn't talking, was
hmm,
Eric Wolfgang Korngold.
Korngold.
cool.
So he was a proper composer uh in Europe, and then came and just became a Hollywood guy, basically.
I think he's the guy who did this score to King's Row, where if you listen to the opening credits, it sounds a lot like Star Wars.
Maybe, yeah. Captain
Hmm.
Blood,
I think it was
Anthony
the temp track.
Adverse.
I think it was the temp track that Lucas used for Star Wars opening credits. He just used the King's Row credits. So credit Wolfgang for giving us the Star Wars theme, kind of.
Nice.
So yeah,
And
but like you said, like that was my point. You're like, it sounds very 20th century. I was like, well, actually, that's pretty much straight to the core of 20th century stuff in a way. So
Well, what do you guys think about how the doctor Helena Russell is in charge of Moonbase Alpha this week?
that's what I said. She's suddenly in main mission ordering people about, or I'm sorry, command center ordering people
Uh,
about.
she's at the top of the call sheet.
yep.
Mhm.
I yeah. I, I felt
I
like
mean,
everything
Paul's
felt
not around
so
anymore. Victor's
slapped
not around
together.
anymore. Somebody's got to run things.
I mean, that was a whole thing with keeping up with Star Trek references when Discovery started. Is, hey, the person on the top of the call sheet is not the captain, which now she is, but
Hmm.
took a few
But
years.
Mark, you mentioned that this episode had, Martin and Catherine for the most part running around, whereas next week's is going to have mostly Tony and Helena. And I think they explain it like, Maya and Koenig are on another mission or something. They did a lot of this split schedule stuff where they were shooting like basically two episodes at once, and they would split the cast up and them do different things. And so I think we're going to see
Yeah.
this a couple more times
Is next
throughout
week
the
the one
show.
that Landau's straight up not in? I know
I
there's one
There
wouldn't
are
be
some where he
episode.
no.
just shows up, well, like this one. I mean, Helena shows up in
Yeah.
one or two scenes of main mission. They did one shot at the end to
Yeah,
kind
but
of
I
tie
know
it
I
together.
seem to remember when you look at the episode counts, there's one that Landau's straight up not in. So I'm wondering if that is going to be next week's.
Maybe
I
unless he's just on a view screen or something, because I think that's what happens next week.
Mm.
I
Maybe.
don't I don't hate that format. I feel like maybe the exposition dialogue was, like I said, they really gave more backstory to Maya than to Koenig for some reason, which just seems like they just didn't bother to write anything for it. They just give him like, well,
Well, you
because
had Dragon's Domain
him
last
just
season.
saying he has a wife and not saying anything about her really is disappointing because in season one we got Helena's husband appearing. So we
Hmm.
got like actual
He was a real wet
real
blanket.
character stuff with that. Okay, yeah. He was like an alien version of himself with
Well,
powers and
okay, I'll give you a little spoiler alert. There'll be another episode that looks at Koenig's backstory further down
oh,
sheet, so you'll get a
Okay,
little more history of him. But
cool.
I'm glad they made at least some kind of an effort. I mean, and also sort of a get to know you between two characters, one of whom's brand new to the show, and we don't really know much about other than her father was a madman and we had to blow up his
Oh,
planet.
oh yeah, and she kept talking about how great her planet was and how everyone was equal, even though we clearly saw that they had slave labor just all over the inside of the planet. Like
She did before that.
that also made me type a bunch
Well,
in
this
all
is back in the
caps.
old days, before
I
the
guess
dark
so.
times, before the
I
Empire.
guess they didn't always have slave labor,
The
but
slave labor is
feel
there
like
because
I could
everybody
trust.
left.
I didn't feel like I could necessarily trust
Yeah, yeah.
Psychon
Everyone
to not
left.
have slave labor at some like yeah, I don't know.
It's a reverse Superman. It's like everyone
I
else leaves and Jor-El stays on the planet.
I was not willing to go back and watch that entire episode over to figure out if the slave labor was only confined to the episode The Metamorph. So
Yeah, all you
I'll
had
just
was
take you guys'
Mentor
word
and
for it.
Maya. Yeah, because at that point, he's like Jabba. He just has this palace full of slaves.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like America's a great place. It's always been the land of the free, and everybody's been free, and it's been great. It just felt like unintentionally just evoking the same kind of
Unintentional
things we tell
revisionism.
ourselves.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
rose-colored glasses. Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
it's everyone was equal and there was no class separation and everyone was happy. No
Can
one
can we
wanted to leave.
can we throw it out there that Maya is very charming and fun, but Maya is probably not the sharpest cookie.
I think she is written as not the sharpest cookie, and also they clearly didn't think about what it would be like to work with animals and have
Yeah, well,
things.
I thought she would be socially inept but scientifically brilliant because of her father training and the fact that
But
she's the
she
only
seems
Saigon.
bad
Very
at logic.
charming compared to some other cast members.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, again, they aren't a lot of cast members aren't given anything to be charming with. But
No, because they hired
still,
her to be charming. That was the whole Freddy's whole point, is to have a
I
charming
was
alien.
I was extremely frustrated by when Koenig said, "You can't stop them, no matter what animal you turn into." Like, God, no, don't do that to me.
Oh,
Don't
you were
do
saying
that.
just turn into Godzilla and that would solve the
Oh yeah,
problem right
just
there.
have her say, "I can't turn into a big enough animal." Don't have Koenig explain it. That's
Yeah.
terrible. That's bad writing. I
I
mean,
think
just
that was trying to give Martin more lines. I think maybe
or
he
be
stole
like, I
some lines
can't.
from the script and took it for himself.
Maybe so. As it was just incredibly frustrating because it's obvious that what they wanted to do with this character is not possible for them, like for this
Hmm.
production, and that is frustrating because I like Maya. I like animals.
Yeah,
I want to see her turn animals.
they
I
don't even have
love it.
90s CGI like Odo did, right?
Yeah.
So if the
Oh,
hour
we have a limitation on her abilities. I think for the first time it's actually detailed that she cannot stay in another form for more than an
one
hour.
hour, yeah. So
Kind of like Odo
and then
not being
she's
able to stay solid for more than
Yeah.
18 hours or
right.
something
Yeah,
like
So
you
that.
just
she's
got to
in
go back
the
to the bucket.
she's
I'll
in
be in
the
my bucket.
wire mesh cage
That's
as
I
a
hope he says that
bird.
one.
So the problem is she's just gonna come bursting out in like serrated chunks if she turns
I'm
back.
I'm
I
not
did not think that
convinced that
cage
the
was
cage
strong
was
enough
that
to.
strong.
It was tied to
It was like what was like
cloth.
yeah, it was like
That would
chicken
have just
wire.
broken open
Clearly,
anyway. So I don't know why they were so concerned about that. They made it sound like it was dire, but it wasn't.
that was clearly a crappy fence they got at the hardware store and cut up into armor. Like it is not
Yeah, I
anyway.
loved his
But
armor, his chicken wire armor. Yeah.
but it also annoyed me that Koenig was completely freaking out over it after she'd been a bird for like 1 minute. He was like, "No, she'll die." Ah. And, anyway, but
We're
I
not
guess
quite sure
whatever
how
gets him
much time
motivated
passed, but
enough.
yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
when Maya turns back, they shoot it as if that was like the last second, you know? Like
Yeah,
maybe they just been walking around with a bird cage for a while, you know?
like the stakes aren't high enough that they're being forced to fight Biker Frankenstein on a
That's why they
giant
all get
death
game
planet.
genie powers, you know?
Yeah, this is
Luton's a
this
game
could
genie player.
this could have been, and this is another one. There's like this could have been a decent episode, and it just had like just loads of errors and it like bad judgment
I think you just want to steel
writing.
cage match with the elderly Fred.
Sure, I'll do it. I mean, he's dead now, so I'd definitely win.
Right, right. But I'm giving you elderly Fred, just to
Okay,
not in his
sure.
prime Fred.
The
We'll
only
just
Fred
have
we
us
knew,
fight to the
elderly
death.
Fred.
Yeah. Like, okay, let's make it fair. He's elderly and I'm like 12 years old. I'm not fully grown yet.
Hmm.
But he's like, elderly in the 80s.
Yeah, some high concept sci-fi concepts there. Okay. You gotta work out like
Yeah.
four things to make that happen.
I think I just internalized all this stuff where I read about how people hate him so much and now I hate him as just I've internalized all of it.
And the shows make you hate him more. It's
Hmm.
happening.
I mean, he has, one of the pseudonyms on IMDb is Series Killer. He's known as Series Killer. So that's pretty
Well,
uh
he's did that with two major science fiction series, so
could you imagine the world if we had like 7 seasons of the original series of Star Trek? I guess we wouldn't have Wrath of Khan if that had
well,
happened.
honestly, Lou Grade killed this show because he wanted to go make a Titanic movie instead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this we'll get into it later, but yeah, this was basically on track to be renewed and then was just kind of yanked out
Gotta
from under.
race the
Um
Titanic.
it was canceled like two weeks before Star Wars came out or something like that.
Oops.
It's just really,
I
really
know that was
hilarious
Seems like you
miscalculation.
change
kind of
your
some
mind again
whiplash
after
there.
two. Yeah, it seems like you can change your mind again after 2 weeks.
Again, we'll get into it, but all those movies that were edited from Space 1999
Right.
episodes that I accidentally was like citing
Yes.
early in this podcast, yeah, those were all just Star Wars cash grabs.
Did they
They
grab
were
some
like,
cash? Did they work?
I think they did. I think they grabbed some cash.
Good for them.
Yep.
Let's
uh,
give Tony some credit for flying an eagle longer than anyone ever has before. Apparently, he spent the entire episode in the cockpit
but then he's like, I won't put anyone else. I can't put
in
more people at
danger.
risk. But if he gets a relief pilot, that would suggest he's going back to moon base and one person is at risk again, just not him.
Well, and it didn't even happen that way. But it's like you really couldn't find the planet even from its gravity pull. It seems like you would your eagle would start to descend. You go, okay, I must be near the
I
planet.
guess it went into a pocket dimension or something because when the planet shows up again, he's about to crash into it. So,
Yeah, it's just
I mean,
like
he
pop.
would
Like
have, I
what?
mean, the effects of gravity would have been like
That's a
impossible
hell of
not
a
to
cloaking
notice.
device that the Lutons have. I don't know where they got it,
Well,
but
that's what I'm
it's
saying.
pretty
I'm
cool.
okay. We're about to talk about hard sci-fi versus sci-fi, but I guess the
Mhm.
explanation for that would be kind of like a Brigadoon planet. It's like going into another dimension when it vanishes.
Oh, I
Mm.
don't know.
Those are
Maybe. Oh, did you
myths.
guys
Okay.
also notice that he's starting to hear Tony? This is one of my pet peeves about this show. He can't pronounce words that end with the letter A. So it's always Meyer, Helener, and
Mm.
Moonbase Alpha. And you really hear it for the first time, I think, in this episode's first time I noticed it in the rewatch. Like, oh yeah, here it comes. I don't think that's its Italian blood. Wait, he's not Italian, but anyway.
Nope.
That they were like, you need to try and be more Italian. He's like, hey, I eat a pizza. They're like, no, no,
No,
no, no, don't
no.
do
I
that.
ate a
I was like,
pizza.
okay, no, your pizza. I mean, it's a pizza.
No, I
Pizza.
think this is just a regional dialect in England where you can't pronounce words that end with A. You got to make it R.
Eh,
R.
it happens. Did you
Mm.
guys like how at the end he committed the faux pas of giving Maya a plant, and then they took people took that opportunity to insult his beer again?
Yes, yes. It's like you got to get a beer jab in there at some
Like,
point in every episode.
I,
Got to criticize his beer.
it's literally feeling like the Meg thing on Family Guy in later seasons, where it's just like it's like he does anything wrong, and they're like, "Shouldn't you be making some terrible beer, you idiot?" Like that's what the whole show feels like. It's just
Sure, why
this is
not? That's
Tony is
that's
the
what
guy who makes beer that everyone dislikes.
continuity is in the credits now. They have to learn their paycheck.
Uh, maybe he
Um,
should just stop making beer.
okay. Well, you
I mean, I'll tell you
failure is
what.
failing. Quitting is failing. He has to keep trying till his beer is amazing.
If I made beer and everybody
Where else are you
insulted
gonna
it,
get
I
beer
would
on
be like,
Moonbase?
"Oh, fine, I'll just keep it to myself then. I'll drink all of it, and I'll become an unreliable drunk at my job, and then I'll crash an eagle into a planet, and
Is that
I'll
an
die."
upcoming episode? That'd be cool.
I hope so.
Oh, it could have played out that it could have been like this long, slow cry for help.
Yeah.
He's an alcoholic, but
Tony's lost weekend.
A
yeah.
long, slow cry for help sounds like
That's
the title of a Space 1999 episode.
that's why he's trying to make beer because he's an alcoholic. Okay, that makes sense.
That
Just
happened
like
on a Battlestar reboot where they start making
I
moonshine
can't.
because they ran out of scotch or whatever. I
He
guess you
can't
wouldn't
get
have
Maya to
scotch on
transform
Caprica, but
into he can't get Maya to transform into a gorilla and have sex with him, so he gets really depressed, starts
Mm.
drinking all the time. I can't. Yeah, I
Didn't that
mean, I'm
already
sorry.
happen? Okay.
So what do you guys think happened on Luton at the end? Did the all the flowers rise up against the tree judges or something? I don't understand. It's just you heard a lot of weird cries, which is strange because there are no animals. I guess it's the plants screaming at the judges
Well,
because they
that's the
didn't
cue
agree
to
with
leave,
them.
isn't it?
Yeah, when they it's just like a GTFO, let's get out of here. I like the fact. Oh, another little note is that the nice little model work with the eagles, where the little refueling pod comes over and puts its little tank of gas in the side of the
Oh
eagle.
yeah, that we kind of
Oh,
did see
that was
another docking
cool. That
eagle.
was a cool effect. I wish it was like more relevant to anything that was happening. It was just at least a nice piece of special effects work to look at.
I
Yeah,
got a question. Would this episode have been better if Tony came down to the planet and the plants found out that he was making beer and they were like, "You monster, you're choosing wheat and grinding it up for your alcohol
You're killing
beverage."
yeast, which isn't
No.
either
Yeah, that
plant
would be
or an
cool.
animal, but anyway.
That would be awesome. That's what this episode needed, was
Oh, and I
just the
got one
plants
more
getting mad at beer.
note about the makeup effects. Shaney says Land of the Lost had better makeup effects in this episode.
You're right. I agree. And you know what? Land of the Lost is one of the things I was thinking about when I was like things I didn't enjoy watching when I was a kid.
Mm.
And it looked better than this. I mean,
Yeah, the
it's fun.
Sleestack and Chaka, they were much better than these guys. These guys look
Well,
terrible.
how about the 2010 movie?
really bad. I didn't
Oh,
see it.
I didn't see it either. Yeah, hmm.
I have a weird fascination with that movie, which everyone has
I think
forgotten exists.
I think you tried to make me watch it or something, or you
I
told me
might
to
have.
watch it.
I might have.
Maybe you did make me watch it. I don't know.
And you've forgotten it. It's a forgotten
No,
movie.
I've forgotten
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
When I think of it, I keep going back to Galaxy Quest for some reason. I don't know. Is it like a parody of the original?
Kind
Like
I
of,
think it's
kind
sort
Okay.
of
of.
like
My
that.
voice cracked.
Kind of. Yeah, I think that was me, listeners. That wasn't Matt.
What? I did
I
crack.
can go
Well,
higher than Matt can.
You want to start
but
doing a podcast like this? Sorry, that's just Mickey Mouse, isn't it? Okay.
No, that like messed up my microphone.
Yeah, yeah. Don't mess up your microphone by screaming into it too much. Why don't you go ahead and scream your hard sci-fi versus soft sci-fi percentages, though?
I give this 3% hard sci-fi, 1% for every one of the aliens. That's it.
The aliens are hard
97% soft.
sci-fi.
Yep.
Okay.
Each one of them exists.
Hmm. I was giving I guess a 2080. I mean, there's not much sci-fi here. It's except I mean, it's magic. It's the plant wizard, so that's not sci-fi. Um,
yeah,
I mean, I guess the idea of like the plants up. I don't even know. I was thinking maybe there's something here. That's why I was going to go 20.
I dare you to take this question seriously for this episode. So like that's
I don't
cool.
take any questions seriously for this episode. Honestly.
Hell no.
It's like, yeah, like you said, 95+% soft sci-fi. I like the fact that the aliens were giving these three special abilities to even the score. And like Koenig says, what, 3 against 2 isn't good enough for them? And it's like, well,
And
what
Koenig doesn't have a
abilities they
power.
give Koenig? Yeah, Koenig had no powers. Somehow they may have sussed out that Maya was a metamorph, but what was his special power? And how did he
Getting
discover?
stabbed by a bludgeoning weapon, that was his
How
special
did they
power.
discover their powers? It's like, did they
Uh,
like did they give
Plot
them a
armor.
note or something? You
Just,
are invisible. You are strong.
by the way, I'm not reading
So,
that wrong. He got stabbed by a club, basically, right?
I
It
think
was
so.
a shaft of rock that was
Yeah.
plunged
Maybe
into
it
his
was
arm.
sharp. I don't know.
That was too heavy for him to carry, let alone wield with a wounded arm. Yet he carried it the rest of the episode like he was going to use it until he made proposals.
Just in
It's
That
like,
was
case.
why do you keep
something I
carrying that around? What's the point? This is
It's his
pointless.
penance for breaking that rod and for with what's his name and Leo McKern's ship.
Gwent.
Yeah, the fuel
Gwent.
rod.
Yeah,
Gwent.
It's penance for breaking the rod in front of Gwent.
Good
we
old.
didn't
Now he has
really
to
go
carry
into
this
that
stone pillar.
though, how it doesn't make any sense that the plants would have given those guys powers. Like, why wouldn't they just have had the powers? Because that doesn't make any sense. It's just exposition that Koenig said, kind of like when
I
he
think they're
said all
just
the animals made a last stand. It's just
stacking the deck against them to like pile on
it,
the threat.
it
Like it
just
wasn't
gave him
bad enough.
something to say to fill time. I don't know what else to read that
I
because
want to see Martin Landau's script notes on this one because if he didn't like If he didn't like
Oh
all the
man.
glisters, I think like he would hate it this one just as much.
Yeah, how did
If
he dislike
someone
that? I don't get
if
it.
someone publishes just a book of just all the notes that he's written on the scripts of Space 1999, I would buy that for like $200. I would love to have
Really?
that
Would
in
you
my
really?
Yes, I would. just just mean things written in all the scripts. That'd be amazing. I mean, I
He
don't
is
know.
not the star.
Yeah, too much Ellen Carter
I wonder if he
underlined three
still has his
times.
scripts. Well, Barbara's still around. Maybe she
Yeah.
might have scripts with notes in them still if they haven't
She's too
auctioned them
happy in
off.
season 2, though.
Hmm.
I mean, they divorced
She might
like
have,
30 years ago, so
yeah. Well, she might still have his scripts too. Who knows? He may
it's
not have
not
gotten them back.
impossible. Not impossible, but yeah, that was another annoying, ridiculous thing. It's just like, why can't the aliens just have powers because they're aliens with powers like Maya? Like, what else? What do they do before they
Hmm.
had powers? They're just big lumbering oafs.
What
They've
did they
been
do before
lumbering
this
around
episode? They were just
I,
standing
They're just
around
standing there
for
waiting
10
for some
years.
other aliens to show up to fight. We still haven't figured that part out yet. We're talking about all this other stuff. I don't know.
I hope they were all
Oh
kissing
God.
each other and like dancing around in the field.
I guess that brings us back full circle since that was my initial question. And any other points you want to throw out? I think the only note I didn't read
Um,
was
I
Full Circle
solid
is a
voice.
better episode.
unfortunately, I think I did enjoy this better than last week's Tabor because at least this wasn't at least the dumb stuff wasn't actively annoying. I think do you guys like
I was
this
too
less than
amused. See,
Tabor?
the key is I was amused by the Tabor, and you were not amused by the Tabor, as in the
Yeah,
very fat man, the Tabor. The
yeah. They gave
Tabor
the
depends on.
Tabor too many lines.
Ah, heart attack.
See, I was like, give him more lines to slur. I was like, yeah. So, I did prefer the Tabor in the end.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I'd say I had more fun, even though a lot of my fun with this episode was laughing at how bad it was sometimes. I think I had more fun with this episode, but admittedly, the Tabor had more fun visuals and music, and this
oh,
just basically had no
rainbows. Oh
visuals.
yeah, come on. Nah, this
This
doesn't
looked
hold a
like this
candle.
looked like garbage.
Like
Actually, this is
30% of the
bad
Tabor is
looking show.
rainbows.
Oh, the
This might be
teleport
the
alien had
worst.
kind of a rainbowy effect. I thought you liked that, Matt, because
That was cool.
Yeah, but it was
it looked
that's
like a
like
video. It looked like a video effect.
that's like getting a fun-sized Kit Kat after eating a chocolate cake, you know?
And when the invisible guy fell off the cliff, it was a nice like scream. I don't think it was a stock sound
It was
scream. It
not
was
the
like
Wilhelm scream, but it was kind of
no,
like the Wilhelm scream.
yeah, it was like the Wilhelm scream
I
at
don't think the
home.
Wilhelm scream was a thing until Star Wars, was it? Didn't he
It
get that?
existed. It
I
existed,
mean, it
but I don't think it
existed.
was widely
Yeah.
used.
The
But it
Goofy
was.
screen was already
Ben
out
Burt
there.
loved it and used it in Star Wars, and then started using it in every Lucasfilm, and then after a while, it became a like a
Now I
meme.
just roll my eyes when I hear it. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, society. You did a great job of making me bored of something that used to be really fun. Um, I'm looking at the list of things the Wilhelm scream was in, and
It's
400
long.
films. I mean,
Wow.
it looks like well, they're all out of order. What the hell is this Wikipedia article worth?
How about the
Looks like
Goofy
most
scream?
of it is the 90s. Oh, the Goofy scream is much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was from a guy that Disney had loaned money to open a ski resort, and that's not the voice of Goofy. That's somebody else.
But I mean, the best scream for in my book, the best scream is the one from what was the ninth configuration scream, where the guy's like, "Grr!" Like you know what I'm talking about? It's
I do not.
I
like a
keep
guy
thinking of
running
that
at a guy.
generic car crash sound that you heard for many, many years. It had like what sounded like a yell right as before the impact. It's just a tire screech it goes, and then you hear, and then and then you're always going, what is the part? Is that a person yelling? You hear it in tons of things. It's very old sound effects, been around for decades.
It's called the Howie scream.
The
You probably
Howie
can't hear
scream.
it.
Which one is?
The ninth configuration scream.
Oh, okay.
It's the one that's like, "Grr!" Anyway, you'd recognize it if you
I'm
heard
sure.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, trying to reproduce it. I guess that's why I was bringing up the Goofy screen. You can
It's the Howie
reproduce that
scream,
somewhat, and people
the
at
one
least
you
get it.
give before you, yeah. Is it the one,
Well,
the Howie scream, the one you get before you get thrown into the Wicker Man?
Yes.
yeah, yeah. It's when you yell "Christ" over and over again. and then try to sing songs at people who are singing songs at you. But anyway, if you want to scream
At
at
us.
us on the internet, go to patreon.com/podcastius. You can scream money at us through bank debits. You can listen to other people scream on other podcasts like Films Filth is Gated podcast where we talk about The Wicker Man with Brian soon. Or it may come out at the same time as this. There's also Hyrule Field Report. Just wrapping up, talking about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We've got game show about games, Time Enough podcast about the Twilight Zone, Occult Disney about the connections between the occult and Disney films. We've got Luke Loves Pokemon about Pokemon. And until next time, do not obey the rules of Luton.
Number 15, watch the Rules of Luton again. Now. I have to blow my nose, damn one.
I started saying do not until next time. Do obey the rules of Luton, but I said do not obey the rules of Luton, which is the wrong thing to say.
Well, that felt like the right thing to say.
I was gonna say do not follow us on Blue Sky or Mastodon because we're not there yet.
Oh, I gotta put us on all those things. I need to get it like
on
some
Threads,
kind of script.
Threads, Mastodon, and
what
did I say? Blue Sky. I guess those are the new Twitters.
I think Mastodon and Blue Sky are probably both fine, but I'm just so PTSD'd for everything being so bad that I don't want to join anything else.
Yeah, I think I got to that point.
I just followed all your podcasts like this week on Twitter. It's like, oh yeah, I can do all of these, can't I?
I tried to make a Twitter for this podcast and I can't get Twitter to work anymore. Like when I load it, it says I have to sign out and then sign back in to make it work even a little bit. And I don't know why.
Oh, that's weird. Excuse me.
Probably I'm something like I don't use it enough, and Elon Musk is trying to delete my account, but he can't do it because his doesn't work well enough to do that.
You specifically, Mark.
Yes, me specifically. I mean, I would absolutely tweet at him something insulting and get banned if
we were just passed by a cyber truck on the way back from the appointment today. He just drove right past us, and we were just like both.
Dude, I saw a Cybertruck in the wild for the first time about a week ago, and I laughed, uncontrollably laughed. I was not trying to laugh at it; it just made me laugh. Like the reaction
I know what that is.
The Cybertruck. It looks like a polygon thing, and it's like a disaster, and they're like falling apart left and right. And there's
look at a Cybertruck.
Tons of recalls on it.
I've already seen like a half a dozen of them, but then I'm kind of in, Tesla Central around here.
Okay, I've seen. Yeah, I saw a picture of that somewhere.
It looked like a prop. Like it did not look like a real car.
It looked like a post-apocalyptic vehicle from the 1970s, like Damnation Alley.
Yeah. I guess that's the charm of it. I don't know. I guess I'll hit the recorder because everybody but Mark's going to work, I think.